संभव हो।
Union Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Prasar Bharati, to inaugurate a unique urban forest at the office of the Controller and Auditor General of India in Delhi as a measure to tackle worsening air quality in the national capital today. Road Transport and Highway Minister Nitin Gadkari says India will not allow Chinese companies to participate in highway projects, including joint ventures. Also says this is a step towards making India self-reliant. Recovery rate approaches 59.51%, 226,000 active cases in the country, over 359,000 people cured or discharged, 17,834 succumbed to the illness. Global cases crossed the 1 crore 6 lakh mark. Hong Kong police arrest people for violating the law on safeguarding national security in the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. India reacts for the first time on Hong Kong situation. Highlights developments at UNHRC. UNSC adopts first COVID-related resolution demanding immediate cessation of hostilities in the conflict zone. The Council accepts the resolution after US-China resolved their difference over WHO. Good morning, I'm Anil Thomas. Those were the headlines, and now for the stories in detail. Hong Kong police have arrested 10 people for violating the law on safeguarding national security in the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, which came into effect on Tuesday. They were the first arrests made under the law since it took effect. The law seeks to prevent, stop and punish acts and activities that endanger national security, namely secession, subversion, terrorist activities and collusion with a foreign country or external elements. Hong Kong police said on Wednesday they have made around 370 arrests for illegal assembly and other offences, with 10 involving violations of the new law. Well, given the large Indian community presence in Hong Kong, India has been keeping a close watch on the recent developments. India reacted on the development in Hong Kong, saying, "We have heard several statements expressing concerns over these developments. We hope the concerned parties will take into account these views and address them properly, seriously and objectively." On the situation in Hong Kong, India has said that it has taken note of the several statements expressing concerns on these developments. India's envoy to the UN bodies in Geneva, Rajiv K. Chandar, said that given the large Indian community that make Hong Kong its home, India has been keeping a close watch on recent developments.
Given the large Indian community that makes the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of China its home, India has been keeping a close watch on recent developments. We have heard several statements expressing concern on these developments. We hope the relevant parties will take into account these views and address them properly, seriously and objectively.
Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has said that the United States is deeply concerned about the law's sweeping provisions and the safety of everyone living in the territory. He also added that the United States will continue to implement President Trump's directive to end Hong Kong's special status.
The United States is deeply concerned about the law's sweeping provisions and the safety of everyone living in the territory, including Americans. Article 38 of the new law also purports to apply to offenses committed outside of Hong Kong by non-residents of Hong Kong, and this likely includes Americans. This is outrageous and an affront to all nations. We will continue to implement President Trump's directive to end Hong Kong's special status.
But for more on this story, Abhishek Jha, correspondent tracking that, joining us this morning. Abhishek, good morning. Abhishek, is this...
Yes, Anil.
Yes, Abhishek, good morning. Abhishek, is this Hong Kong being used to land a diplomatic punch on China, at the world body, the United Nations?
Anil, on the face of it, it looks like that India is trying to open up on the World Forum where it can push China, or it can corner China on certain sensitive issues, which China has been over the last years, where India has had this policy of not interfering or not meddling with the issues of other countries. But given the change in situation along the LSE and other diplomatic and economical stand that India has taken in the recent weeks, not very far in the recent weeks only, it calls for a time when it demands that India should, voice its concern. India should act like a responsible and world's largest democracy, and it can voice along the pro-democracy supporters of Hong Kong. So going by the logic, it sounds very normal for India to raise concern for the pro-democracy supporters in Hong Kong. But on the underside, we know that there is a lot of perspective on that, why India has been pushing anti-China sentiment at this juncture. And we know that there has been diplomatic and military standoff with China in recent past, and this is what maybe Indian and Chinese relationship is going to unfold in the days to come.
Break that down for us. This particular new security legislation that's been brought about, what are the problems? Why are the people in Hong Kong, objecting to it? You made a mention about the reasons why India is for the first time spoken about it. But why are the people in Hong Kong objecting to this particular new law?
There are certain provisions which kind of usurps rights of the people of Hong Kong. And according to some provisions, people can be detained indefinitely if people are deemed enough. As per the law, they can be the trial can happen in mainland China. There are certain provisions which says that certain symbols of Chinese nationalism or Chinese sovereignty, they cannot be used, or they disrespecting those national symbols of China may invite some certain penalty to the protesters. And there are so many other there is certain section which says that all the people of Hong Kong who are not residing in Hong Kong and are residing abroad, and still they try to participate in any through any means or medium in the pro-democracy support, they can also be found accountable for their action. And once they are back to Hong Kong, they can be arrested through the under the new provisions of national security law. So these are certain provisions which the world community feels that they are quite anti-human rights. They are clear violation of human rights. They are clear violation of freedom of speech for those protesters who have been so far very peaceful. These are certain sections which are like,
one quick word before I let you go. India is talking about a proper management of this particular issue in Hong Kong that is brewing. What's the reason why India is talking about it? Because we know that there is a significant number of Indians there in Hong Kong, but you break down the numbers for us, on how many roughly Indians are there and why India has spoken on this issue.
Anil, as per the latest update that we have some rough figure, it's close to 1 lakh Indians who live in Hong Kong for various business purposes or maybe for study. And there are a huge number of Indians who have taken residency in Hong Kong. So this is a very natural concern that Indian authorities have expressed at this global forum, where they said that since many of Indians have made this Hong Kong their home, and the situation developing there is quite concerning, and so India expresses concern over the safety, security, and the whole environment in which they work there. And India hopes that all stakeholders in the development of Hong Kong, which is going on right now, will sit together, talk together, and they will sort out and they will conclude this whole chaotic situation which is happening right now in Hong Kong.
The chaotic situation, as you put it. Let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that normalcy returns soon there in Hong Kong. Moving on, India and China have been talking through established military and diplomatic channels to address the situation along the LAC. Commanders from the Indian Army and the Chinese PLA held a meeting at Chushul on the Indian side for another round of talks on June 30th. It was the third senior military commander level engagement to discuss about issues related to disengagement at the face-off sites along the LAC and de-escalation from the border areas. Sources say both sides have stressed on the need for an expeditious, phased and stepwise de-escalation as a priority. This is in keeping with the agreement between Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar and his Chinese counterpart during their conversation on 17th of June that the overall situation would be handled in a responsible manner and that both sides would implement the disengagement understanding of June 6th sincerely. The 30th June meeting was held in a business-like manner, keeping in view the COVID-19 protocols. The sources say more meetings are expected at the military and diplomatic levels to arrive at mutually agreeable solutions. Road Transport and Highway Minister Nitin Gadkari says India will not allow Chinese companies to participate in highway projects, including joint ventures. While speaking to a news agency, he said that government will not permit joint ventures with Chinese partners to construct roads. The minister further added that government will ensure that Chinese investors are not entertained in the micro, small and medium enterprises sector. World over, there is a growing discontent over the use of Chinese telecom infrastructure and apps. India's action of banning 59 apps and discouraging the use of Chinese-made hardware in Indian telecom sector is finding appreciation globally. Mike Pompeo, the U.S. Secretary of State, has said that India's clean app approach will boost India's sovereignty, integrity, and national security.
We welcome India's ban on certain mobile apps that can serve as an appendages of the CCP's surveillance state. India's clean app approach will boost India's sovereignty. It will also boost India's integrity and national security, as the Indian government itself has stated.
Well, back home, there has been another arrest in connection with the custodial death of the father-son duo in Tuticorin. Inspector Sridhar has been booked under Section 302 of the Indian Penal Code, that's the IPC. A total of 5 police officers have been arrested so far. Other cops who here are Sub-Inspector Balakrishnan and Raghu Ganesh and Constables Mutturaj and Murugan. Meanwhile, the Human Rights Commission has issued a notice to the Tamil Nadu's Director General of Police, J.K. Tripati, and Totikudi Superintendent of Police Arun Balgopalan over the death of her father and son, allegedly due to their torture in police custody in the district last month. The NHRC said that the reply to the notice must include the inquest report, the post-mortem examination report, the medical treatment report, the magisterial inquiry report and the health screening report of both victims. It added that the reply must be submitted within 6 weeks. Earlier, CBCID officials visited the home of the deceased and spoke to the family members and also went to the location of the mobile shop from where the duo were picked up by the police. Police had arrested Jairaj and his son Benkis on June 19th for keeping their mobile shop open at Satankulam beyond permitted hours during the lockdown and had lodged them at the Kovilpatti sub-jail. The duo were later brought to the Kovilpatti government hospital where they died of injuries allegedly sustained during interrogation in police custody. The Madurai bench of the Madras High Court took suo motu cognizance of the incident after it triggered a nationwide outrage, following which the state government announced that the case would be transferred to the CBI. It observed that there is enough prima facie material to register a murder case through the police officials concerned. The court directed Tirunelveli CBCID Deputy Superintendent of Police Anil Kumar to take over the investigation into the custodial deaths till the CBI took over the case. Well, that particular story, they are gaining proportions and, catching the media eye, not only in Tamil Nadu, but the whole of India. That particular custodial death story, spiraling anger over the deaths in Tamil Nadu, especially to this man and his son, arrested for keeping that shop open beyond the restricted hours or beyond the permitted hours during the lockdown there. We'll try and get more inputs from our correspondent there, Philip Matthew, who joins us on the phone line there. Philip, what's the update there? We believe there has been fresh arrest in that particular case that's taken place this morning.
That's right, Anil. In fact, last night, Sub-Inspector Raghu Ganesh had been arrested, and subsequently this morning, 4 other police personnel, including Inspector Sridhar, another sub-inspector, and 2 police constables have also been arrested. They haven't been remanded to custody as yet, but interrogations are currently underway at the CBCID office in Thoothukudi.
Also, what was the Director General of Police had requested the government for this case to be transferred to the CBI. What do you feel? What were the circumstances that led to such a quick request for a CBI inquiry into this particular case?
Well, it was actually the Madurai bench of the Madras High Court which suo moto decided to take up the case, and they said that the prima facie evidence suggested that a case for murder could be made out against the police personnel involved in the incident, and that was when the the state government promptly came up with its response and said it was prepared to hand over the investigation to the CBI. But the court wasn't entirely satisfied because it felt that crucial evidence could be lost in the process of handing it over to the CBI, and therefore it asked the CBCID to take over the investigation till such time that the CBI was able to take over the case. So for the moment, the CBCID is in charge, and they did take control of the police station and the investigation last night, and subsequently we've seen a spate of arrests. In fact, the IG of the CBCID last night said that they have constituted about 10 to 12 teams which are on the lookout for other suspects. So clearly, the CBCID is leaving no stone unturned to comply with the court's orders, and more arrests can be expected in the coming days.
Okay. A quick word. Since he was a trader, how has the trading community reacted to this particular, development that's taken place there?
Well, there was a huge uproar the day the incident took place. In fact, the very next day, the trading community in Sathagulam town decided to close the shutters, and they, in fact, the entire trading community in the town closed their shutters, and none of the shops were open. Although it was the lockdown period, they decided that as a mark of protest, they would down their shutters. And so there clearly is a great deal of outrage because both Jairaj and his son were respected members of the local community. And
we've lost.
Minor as.
Yep, go on. Well, I believe there is some problem with the line, the telephonic line there, where Deep Philip was talking to us. We'll get more updates on that particular story and hope that justice is done at the end of it. Moving on, over the years, Delhi's air quality index has become a cause of concern. In order to mitigate pollution level, an urban forest was created in the office of the CAG of India in New Delhi. Spread over 1 acre in size, this multi-layered urban forest will be inaugurated by the Union Minister for Environment, Prakash Javadekar, later today. Keeping in view the limited area, the local material was adopted to enable intensive afforestation. The urban forest would be dense with multiple tree layers, including 12,000 saplings of 59 indigenous species. The urban forest has an ecosystem which has the capacity to restore habitat for birds, bees, butterflies, and microfauna. These are essential for pollination of crops and fruits and to help maintain the balanced ecosystem. Collective and focused efforts for containment and management of COVID-19 by the government along with the states and union territories have led to the recovery rate among COVID-19 patients fast approaching the 59.51% mark. According to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, the figure of active cases stands at 2,26,947, while 3,59,859 cases have been cured or discharged from hospitals. 17,834, that's the number of people who have succumbed to the virus. The recovery rate, which continues to improve, now stands at 59.51%. Well, at the global level, the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases have crossed the 1 crore 6 lakh mark with over 5 lakh 14,000 fatalities. According to the latest data compiled by the Johns Hopkins University, 1 crore 6 lakh 44,064 cases of COVID-19 have been reported across the world. United States continues to remain the worst hit nation with over 26 lakh 78,000 cases and 1,27,527 deaths, followed by Brazil and Russia. Brazil reported over 14 lakh 48,000 cases and over 60,000 deaths, while over 6 lakh 53,000 cases have been reported in Russia with 9,521 fatalities. Well, after nearly 3 months of differences and negotiations, the UN Security Council unanimously adopted the first COVID-19 related resolution demanding a general and immediate cessation of hostilities around the world. France and Tunisia drafted the resolution demands a general and immediate cessation of hostilities in all situations on its agenda and supports the efforts undertaken by the Secretary General in that respect. UNSC calls upon all parties to armed conflicts to engage immediately in a durable humanitarian pause for at least 90 consecutive days in order to enable the safe, unhindered and sustained delivery of humanitarian assistance. The resolution came after months of negotiations as divisions among Council's two permanent veto-yielding members, United States and China, hindered the attempts to adopt a resolution. United States of America recorded a 7th consecutive day of record new cases of COVID-19 infections. Hospitalizations and deaths from COVID-19 have been soaring in the most populous U.S. state starting around the weekend. 1,199 fatalities have been reported across the United States in the last 24 hours. And due to the increased death tolls and case numbers, many U.S. states, particularly in the South and West, have had to pause their reopening processes. In California, indoor activities will be banned in most places for at least the next 3 weeks. All bars and brew pubs, whether indoor or outdoor, will be closed in 19 counties where 70% of the population live. Over the past 24 hours, 110 people have died in California itself, while Florida, Texas and other states are also seeing a surge in cases and hospitalizations from COVID-19. Meanwhile, New York has also announced that the city would postpone the indoor dining activity in city's restaurants, considering the uptick in other parts of the country. The city was slated to enter phase 3 of its reopening plan on July 6th. Amidst the upsurge, drive-through coronavirus testing sites is becoming a hotspot with people queuing up in large numbers. Testing sites seek to ramp up testing, reduce the pressure on emergency rooms while keeping patients in their cars to avoid spreading the infection. The World Health Organization has strictly warned that the nations who fail to use every mechanism available to combat the still raging novel COVID-19 pandemic will struggle to beat it at the end. Amidst the worsening condition, the WHO has planned to send 2 experts from headquarters to join its country team in China to establish the scope for a mission looking into the origins of this particular virus. Heavily criticized by the United States and others for secrecy and a late response, China has said it was transparent throughout and would support an investigation once the pandemic is under control. Moving to South America and Argentina. In Argentina, local businesses are facing existential threats as their quarantine in and around Buenos Aires has been extended. Business owners decided the extension and tightening of the lockdown in and around the capital from July 1st until July 17th, following a sharp recent rise in the cases of COVID-19. Argentina's government faces a tough balancing act between combating a recent spike in COVID-19 cases and reopening the economy. It has extended a quarantine in and around the capital, but relaxed rules in other parts of the country. Already mired in recession for the last 2 years and in default on foreign debts, Argentina is headed for an annual economic contraction in 2020 that organizations, including the International Monetary Fund, have estimated to be around 10%. New Zealand's health minister has resigned after criticism of the government's response to COVID-19 and his own breaches of lockdown rules. David Clark has already been demoted after breaking rules to take his family to the beach. He said continuing in his role was distracting from the government's overall response to the pandemic. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has confirmed that she has accepted his resignation. The total number of confirmed cases in the country remains at 1,178, with confirmed and probable cases combined totaling 1,528. In other updates, Israel's parliament voted to allow the country's domestic intelligence agency to track the cell phones of COVID carriers for the next 3 weeks amid a resurgence in new cases. The Shin Bet surveillance technology has been used on and off to track carriers since March, when Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet circumvented Parliament and approved the program through emergency regulations as new cases first spiked. The law, which expires on July 22nd, includes oversight mechanisms that require the Shin Bet to report weekly on its monitoring to Parliament's Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee. Israel has reimposed some restrictions after seeing a surge in new cases since rolling back curbs enacted under a near complete lockdown in March and April. The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has reduced many people to poverty in Chile. Country's unemployment rate has hit 11.2% between March and May, laying bare the devastating impact of coronavirus lockdown measures on the South American nation's economy. The pandemic has exploded in Chile since May, with cases soaring to over 282,000 and the death toll standing at 5,753. All of Santiago and the country's capital and economic engine is now under lockdown. The country was hit by widespread protests over inequality late in 2019, leading to billions in losses and damages to businesses. What was left has now been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, with experts predicting double-digit unemployment and a drop in GDP. Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of news. But remember, you need to follow social distancing. You need to stay safe because we need to see a better tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Take care.